What's up, YouTube? It's your boy again, coming back to another video on this channel. As always, I'm the Rhino. Today we have a guest. His name is Trenton Fortner. Um, Trevor Fortner. I apologize. Trevor is a former Navy EOD diver supporting SEAL teams as well as Green Beret units. Trevor is also a former special operator with sensitive background, finding and stopping some of the world's most dangerous people and weapons. His experience in high risk situations with little or no outside help support remains heavily classified. With that being said, Trevor, welcome to the show.
Rhino, appreciate you being here today.
Of course. Um, let's start with the first question. Number one, for those of us who don't understand what EOD is or how it works, how would you describe EOD as well as the mindset without getting into any specifics?
So EOD stands for Explosive Ordnance Disposal.
Okay.
That is the military's equivalent of a bomb squad.
Okay.
All the branches of service have the four primary ones, Marines, Army, Air Force, Navy, all have an EOD component. What's different about the Navy is that we're also trained in underwater
Mhm.
activities, underwater demolition, mine activities like you're seeing out in the Straits of Hormuz.
Right.
And then we do some additional chemical, biological, nuclear training.
Mhm.
And then we jump over another pipeline where we start going through shooting, moving, tactics, driving, parachute insertion, fast roping, all the other skill sets that you would need to integrate with a special forces unit.
Okay. Cool. How would you describe the mindset required for this specific job?
Oh, I would love to say be able to have calmness and clarity,
Mhm.
but some of that gets discovered during training. So, you might hear somebody like wants to go to a CrossFit gym or a jujitsu gym, and they're
Right.
like, not yet. I'm not fit enough. When I get fit enough, I'll go join the gym. And you go,
Mhm.
bless you. You
Thank you.
go, wait a second. That's what the gym's for. Like, don't do it on yourself. It's clearly not working.
Right.
Go just take the first step into the gym. So I don't want people to say, you know what, I'm pretty emotional and I make quick decisions. I don't want to try that program. Absolutely go try it. Like
Right.
if that's of an interest, for sure. Because the training pipeline is really developed for two reasons. One, to give you the actual tools and knowledge and capability to exercise the given task itself. And then the second component of it is, and you don't really realize this in the moment, you realize it decades later, or at
Mhm.
least for me, is that the training is structured to put you in pressure situations, either time pressure composed with environmental, what's a word here, environmental challenges, if you will, like cold, hot,
Right.
darkness, different environmental places as well.
Right.
And they just use those as stressors to like, create stress, chaotic environments around you, and then see if you can continue to perform those skills and tactics.
That's actually pretty interesting. Funny you would say jujitsu or martial arts because I'm actually a martial artist myself. So
Nice.
yeah.
What
I have
what what are you training?
I have some experience in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so I'm training in Muay Thai, kickboxing, and
Very
currently
nice.
hold a blue belt in Krav Maga.
Excellent, man. Good on you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
definitely martial arts is one of my favorite things.
I agree. Do you do any martial arts?
Yeah, I do a lot of jujitsu. Well, last 6 months I've not. I've just relocated to a very well, it's the countryside
Ah,
in Georgia, and it's
yeah,
beautiful. But I'm trying to arrange a schedule where I can actually commute to the gym that's closest and get
right.
back into training. Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah, I understand. Um, so moving on, what's something about your job that outsiders like me or whoever always or almost always misunderstands?
Um, To get a direct answer, I'd have to ask somebody what their conception is.
Right.
But I would think in a general terms, the movies, like for example, there's a movie about a bomb squad technician in Iraq,
Mhm.
and it's a good actor playing it. Some of the things that he does, like technique wise, or
Right.
things, or the speed in which he may do those, a little bit cowboyish. You really don't allow that in real operations, but it paints a pretty good image of the mentality and the psychological issues that somebody that's going to disarm a bomb has to go through, right? There's this example. There's a book actually titled The Longest Walk,
Mhm.
and it's in regards to the British and IRA
Right.
back when they were having their initial conflicts. And the cover of the book is the backside of a bomb technician in a bomb suit with some tools. And he's walking down range from what we call C2 command and control area.
Okay.
And he's walking alone to a car bomb that is parked next to a church. On
Oh
the
boy.
wall of the church is a sign. It's for the church sign. And it says, "Prepare to meet thy maker." And they captured this picture of this bomb tech in front of that sign going down on a live VBID, vehicle borne improvised explosive device. And then the book is, of course, titled The Longest Walk. And it's about your thought process when you leave your command and control with all your teammates and you make the lonely walk by yourself downrange to an explosive hazardous device. And
Right.
there's a mental shift that happens where, when I'm with my teammates, like all's good, like I'm safe, I got teammates all around me.
Yeah.
And then as you start to make that approach, you realize, like, man, if this thing blows up, I think I'll be good right here. And
Yeah.
you continuously getting closer to eventually, if this thing detonates, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And it's that moment where you have to accept that as a reality. And so long as you've done your due diligence, you've held yourself accountable to training, your team has held you accountable, you have the right tools, you have the right training, then you continue on with your job and you leave the emotions out of it.
Okay. Is that movie called The Hurt Locker?
It is. Thank you for remembering
Okay.
that. The Hurt Locker. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was thinking like, this sounds like something Jeremy Renner would do. Who?
Yeah. It's exactly him.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's a cool movie.
Yeah. Good
Um,
movie.
it's very difficult for us former bomb technicians to watch it.
Uh,
It's like, you watching something that you're very familiar with and you're going, that's not how you do it. That's
yeah.
not what I would have done. And
Yeah.
and there's good reason for them not to put that in the movie. It's called our TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures. We don't always want to share those with potential adversaries.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to what you were hinting at earlier, when you're operating in a high risk, high pressure environment, what does it take what does success actually mean on a practical level, I guess?
Success. How do you define success? I would say there's two ways. Well, there's two paths that we use to define success from a personal level, and
Mhm.
then, of course, from the operational level. Operationally, you will define what your objectives are and what mission success is. Sometimes, well, let's say it's disarming a device that's in a roadway that's blocking convoy movement. You can say, okay, what success would be is if we successfully disable,
Right.
move, or dispose of this device. And really, any of those three options are available. We just need the convoy to get on the move. And that would be successful and zero lives lost in the process.
Right.
There's other operations that are high risk that we will actually say, 3% of casualties on our side is still considered to be a success as long as these other objectives are met. And it's a bit disgusting to say out loud that we're willing to lose some of our people. And it's
Yeah.
not that we're willing to lose them. It's just war is war. People will die.
Right.
And so then comes the second component of how an individual defines success. So for me, success is if I have to disarm a device or do any other tactical skill, is was I prepared for it? Did I assess the situation correctly? Did I perform all actions that I needed to? Did I waste time on target of which I should not have? And it's basically a checklist. Did I do my due diligence and do my job properly,
Right.
regardless of the outcome? The outcome could be spectacular, but there was a moment one time where there was something I should have seen, and I didn't see it until I was about to leave. And I glanced over and saw it, and I was like, mother, the mission's a success. We're on our way out. But that little detail I should have caught and, beat myself up for it. Like we're our own worst, advocates, and the worst negativity person in the world is ourselves.
Right.
So the two successes, you always have the operational or business side of their definition of success.
Mhm.
And then on a moral and ethical for each individual person, what does success look like to you? And that's going to be based off your background, your morals, your ethics, your past experiences.
So I guess it's safe for me to say that EOD people are very detail oriented.
Generally so. There's always going to be a spectrum of the high end performers, the low end performers, and those in between. Most of special operators around the world are going to be very detail orientated. And it's the old saying of the devil's in the details.
Yeah.
That's it's phenomenal what those details, the information they will tell you. And it's actually a pain in my butt sometimes right now as a civilian. Like I can be in the grocery store. Well, my wife goes 6 or 7 aisles down, like she's already hit those aisles, getting what she needs, trolley's full, and I'm still on the peanut butter aisle looking for like I'm doing a threat assessment on like which peanut butter. And my wife's just like, dude, it's peanut butter. You get the same one every time. You know you do. So just get it. And I just overanalyze things as a civilian sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense actually. And kind of going on a similar question that I asked you earlier, were you successful across your career?
Uh, let's, well, if I define it as being alive and
Yeah.
having all my fingers, yes.
Okay.
Um, there are some things that I've done that were very successful. And then there are some dumb things that I did, most likely for sure did that were unnecessary. And well, I did them. I won't change it. It's made me who I am now. And if I use that knowledge moving forward, then that's
Yeah,
growth.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Kind of moving on a little bit. How do you make clear decisions when you don't have all the information in I guess you can say a,
Certainty.
sorry?
Certainty.
Yeah. And to kind of quote you from earlier, how do you have that in a cowboy situation?
Uh, Um, let's see about making decisions in uncertain environments
Yeah.
with limited information.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world, right? Like that really is the environment that we all live in. We just, when we're in combat, the stakes are a little bit higher or,
Right.
extremely higher.
Right.
You have to become comfortable with acknowledging the fact
Mhm.
that you will never have pure certainty and clarity in every situation.
Right.
And people that fail to take actions are generally waiting for the perfect picture, the perfect timing to have complete clarity. I mean, what would be the purpose of the human race
Right.
if everything was crystal clear to us? If we knew perfectly what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, next week, what's going to happen with Iran, Ukraine, China? Like,
Right.
if we certainly knew everything like that, then what's the purpose of continuing? Like, why would I make any decisions at all? I know everything, right?
Right.
So we accept that, particularly in special operations, that I have to still make responsible decisions in a short amount of time with having limited information. So we actually go through a framework model of a process of what information would I like to have? And if I don't have that, how can I obtain that? And do I have the time frame to obtain it? And it's a yes or no question. If it's yes, you continue finding that information. And we slow the environment down mentally so that my brain can think and process information
Right.
while I'm continuing to input information. And then we prioritize the decision making process. Like our decisions are based off logic and rational
Mhm.
judgment over speed. Like a lot of civilians will make an urgency. They think everything is urgent and they'll make a quick decision because that urgency and that speed feels good and they made a decision. It's done. Decision made. We got a path. Go forward. And they haven't slowed down to analyze what the first, second, and third order effects of that decision are. And it's a framework that we go through multiple times throughout training. And then that allows you or facilitates you being successful at your job.
Right. You mentioned framework a couple times. Could you expand on that?
Yeah. So in training, I'll give you an example in training. One of our dive phases of training was called pull week. And it's basically a week of just being cold, tired, wet, in the beach or on the beach, getting sandy and chafed up in the Gulf of America, back into the pool. We fortunately get hours of sleep every night. Like where it's not like buds where they're awake for, I think it's 5 days essentially. I think they get a few hours maybe during that week. Our week, we go to our beds every night. Like you might have a long evolution, but at least you get a few hours of sleep every night.
Right.
In the pool, there's a thing called a pool hit where you're in scuba tanks swimming around the bottom of the pool and an instructor will come down and hit you, which means the hit is they're going to rip your oxygen out of your mouth, throw your mask off. They might rough you up, spin you around a little bit, turn your air off, kind of disorientate you a little bit. And then you have to safely recover and what we call dawn, put back on all your gear and you have to do so in a very methodical step. Even though you could look at it from the outside and go, well, why didn't they fix this first? Like there's a procedure to be followed. And it doesn't mean you have to follow that exact procedure in the real world, but
Right.
what they're actually doing is seeing if your brain will follow an approved procedure step
Hmm.
whilst you're in this chaotic pressure environment. I didn't realize it when I was going through the training. I just went through every evolution, make it through this evolution, go to the next and keep going. You know, 12, 13 months later, you're graduating and you continue on with your career and training. After a decade, probably a decade and a half or so, I started trying to figure out why I think a certain way, composed to my family. The more I actually came back into the United States and being around my parents and my sister, like I'm the kid, like a fish out of water. Like people look at me and like, dude, you're different from these people. I'm like, no, I have different experiences from these people. So I put a lot of thought into it and eventually developed a framework. Like what the military was
Right.
teaching me in a kind of like a Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off way,
Right.
they never put a slide deck on the screen and said, okay, number one, slow the environment down. And this is how you do it. So I worked out a framework that we're going to start teaching soon on how to, number one, slow the environment down.
Right.
Number two, prioritize judgment of your decision over speed. And then number three, don't make a decision or delay a decision as long as possible that you cannot recover from.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
inside,
actually, right, good.
yeah, I'm sorry. Inside of that, there's two other terms, situational awareness and the OODA loop. Have you ever heard of the OODA loop?
No, I'm
It's
not.
OODA, and it stands for Orientate, Observe, Decide, and Act. And
Okay.
that acronym was coined by, I believe it was an Air Force fighter pilot,
Okay.
maybe in the Vietnam era. But it's essentially, it's how you use, or rather the OODA loop is what allows you to have situational awareness. You're
Right.
orientating to your environment, you're observing various things, and then you're making a rational, logical decision, and then you're acting on that.
Right.
So it helps you remove your emotions from the decision making process. So I've mapped out a curriculum that is teachable and trainable to someone
Right.
without the external environment's influence. So, no pressure. You're sitting at home, you just work through the framework, you apply it to everyday life. And then, of course, at Everyday Spy, we offer various courses from Ghost Tactics and Red Team, and a couple other, where we bring you in. We're still teaching you various tradecraft frameworks and mindsets,
Right.
but we use the environment of the local city that we're in and scenario-based training to
Right.
induce stress and time constraints so that we can start to put you under real life pressure.
Very interesting. Um, Actually, on a similar note, could you, like, you going back to what you said earlier about your pull week during when you were training, how or could you walk us through how you learned to trust your training over having that like emotional reaction that I would say most people would have, or just relying on instinct?
It's you know, I I hesitate to say instinct, like make sure you have experience so
Right.
that your instinct's a little bit better. Um, Trust your equipment. It's
Right.
something that our instructors used to say all the time.
Right.
Trust your equipment. And what that means is you better have spent the time learning everything about that piece of equipment, how it works, basically why it works, where it works well, where its limitations are, and what its capabilities are.
Right.
And as long as you fully know your equipment, you know its operational readiness, you've tested it before you went on that mission,
Right.
all of that tells you it's ready to go. And so you have to trust that equipment.
Right.
And what that allows your mind to do is if I have my long gun or my pistol or my EOD tool sets,
Mhm.
as long as I've done my job maintaining them and training with them and know exactly how to utilize them,
Right.
what their limitations are, then that's thought process or brain power I don't have to put into worry and I sure hope this thing works. Like that's not a
There's
good feeling because it's distracting.
right. So
Instead,
you're basically removing your second guessing notion.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But the caveat that people glance over all the time
Mhm.
is the amount of training required, the due diligence, your own ownership and accountability
Right.
that you have to put forth in order to have a high level of confidence so that you don't second guess yourself. So you train, right? Okay. So imagine um, going out tomorrow, Saturday, and doing some training. But tonight, you decide to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, eating rubbish food, and you know it. You're like, oh man, this is so good. I'm going to have to go, really work out tomorrow.
Right.
And you get in there, and there's a new person in the gym that says, hey, I want to have a match, not just training, like, I want to get a good physical match in. And you're sitting there getting your butt kicked, and you're like, man, I'm not giving this person who I really am. You know that. Like, it's
I
one of the things I love about martial arts. It
yeah.
is immediate feedback that
Yeah.
is humbling, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the feeling that we want to avoid. So, in order to avoid that, you better have the skill sets and knowledge applicable.
So, with that being said, how would you control that? I guess you can say wave of arrogancy that comes after saying, "Oh, I did X, Y, Z. I'm king of the hill or queen of the hill." How would you reel that back in?
First, you got to realize and become aware that
Right.
you're that guy.
Okay.
Like that's the issue. And I was that guy. Like most of us at some point in our time, we were absolutely that guy. There's a few of them that will say, yep, I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Um, People like myself, I was like, dude, that's not me. I'm a pretty humble guy.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had some good mentors, older mentors that, kind of took me under their wing at times. And, one of them told me, one of the sayings he said was walk softly and carry a big stick, meaning,
Yeah.
hey, man, just tread lightly. Don't ruffle feathers unless you have to. Pick your battles wisely and just kind of be a little bit calmer and mellow. Just chill out some.
Yeah.
But make sure you're competent and capable, right?
Right.
And that was something when he told me that I probably brushed it off for a few minutes. Like I respect that guy, he was a legend. It took me probably a couple of years to probably see a lot of death of my friends
Hmm.
and teammates to realize, man, we're not invincible. Like we can do some savage things when you get a group of us together, but man, bullets don't care, bombs don't care. They kill everyone equally and savagely.
Yeah.
And it was a very humbling experience. And that really got me thinking about some mentorships and things they'd said to me and just self become aware that that's how my conduct was. And that's not what I wanted to display once I started having children.
Okay. Wow. That was a lot to take in. I'm sorry.
No, no
Um,
worries.
yeah. With that being said, in environments where teamwork is literally life or death, what separates the average Joes from the effective teams or the better ones?
Trust,
You said trust?
trust, not blind trust,
Right.
proven trust, earned trust. You don't just go on your team the first day and start doing the most insane hazardous stuff.
Right.
Like it's in a controlled environment. It's walk, what is it? Crawl, walk, run.
Mm.
And sometimes crawl, walk, run happens in like a very short time frame.
Right.
Other times it takes a little bit longer. Um, Throughout that training, one of the things they said at the beginning was there have been men before you, and there will be men after you. Will you be one of them?
Right.
And okay, cool. I want to graduate so that one day I was the man before another student or I was the man after another student. And
Right.
the instructors always told us because all of our instructors have operational experience. We didn't have outside contract instructors that had never performed the job. We'll utilize some subject matter experts and very specific skill sets because they're like the world's best at that particular skill set. And then we adopt that skill set into our tactics.
Right.
And one of the things those instructors always said was, I have to determine if I want you to be standing next to me in harm's way. And they would say that it's not about us being friends. If we become friends, cool, but it's not about being friends. It's about whether I trust you to do your job.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
that's
And
deep.
then you gotta know your job. So I have some teammates. I call
Right.
them teammates because they're not my friend, and I'm not their friend. We don't go to dinners together. We don't go out drinking together. We don't text one another. And
Right.
then I have other teammates that are my friends.
Right.
And the guys that are not my friend, I'll see you at work. I'll give you a head nod, and that's about it. But
Right.
when we're on a mission together,
Right.
dude, I'll die for you and you'll do the same for me. Like that is trust in his skill sets. Might not like him as a human being, like that's cool, but I trust his capabilities. And that's where, if you want a good team, the team has to trust one another.
Right. So basically, what I understand, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is you have professional friend or professional coworkers, I guess you can say. You have that professional relationship where bygones let bygones be bygones at work. We're not going to hang out after work. We're not going to go drink. Our wives not going to meet. And you have friends who our wives are going to meet. Or we're going to drink at the local watering hole or bar or whatever.
Yep.
All right.
And
Cool.
I also have friends
Hmm.
that are not teammates. I have
Yeah.
some really good friends that I go out and I train with and do things with.
Right.
There's no way in the world I would go into combat with them.
Right.
Not a chance, but they're still my friend.
Right. So I guess the next question would be like, how would you build the trust, the communication, the honesty within your units, within the units where I guess you can say time and conditions are not ideal and it's more like a pressure cooker.
It's definitely a pressure cooker, my man.
Yeah.
It's through your training that you
Right.
do. Like everybody. officer, enlisted, the lowest ranking to the highest ranking,
Right.
you all go through the same training. Like it rank still has a play, but it doesn't get you out of any special treatment or any special, oh, you don't have to do this section of training. So you spend a year, 2 years going through various training programs with the same people
Right.
that you see that they're having difficulty in a certain subject. And you're
Right.
like, hey, you want some help? You give them some help. They see that you're having it. You start to build this rapport. Still might not go out to dinner with you, but I'm here to help you be successful selfishly so that I can be successful. And you have this common agreement
Right.
and you start to build trust into one another. And honestly, the people that make it through or that don't make it through training, you could probably go up to any of the remaining classmates and go, "Hey, did you trust that person?" And probably half would go, "No, not really," because they were always doing something for themselves. You're treading water for hours and they're panicking because they're holding a brick and they will push you underwater so that they can come up. Dude, that's
What?
not a cool teammate. Not a cool teammate. I don't trust you. You're
Yeah.
panicking. And so they generally don't make it through training.
Wait, sorry. My brain is just wrapping around what you just said. Did that actually happen or just for example?
No, all the time. All the
Seriously?
time. Yeah. The first few weeks, not towards the end of training, but
Right.
up until pool week, everybody's still trying to, suss everybody else out. You're constantly in that pressure cooker every minute of the waking day. Yeah, one of the first times when we jumped into the pool, and I think it was, we had to do a pool PT test. And then at the end of that, we all had to get back in the pool and tread water. And they throw a couple of bricks in, and you got to start passing these bricks around. Or they'll put a lawn chair. I don't know why, just because they can, a lawn chair, and you have to all hold a leg and can't let it get wet and you're all just treading water. And when somebody starts to get tired and go under, people start yelling at them or hopefully motivating them. But there's been a couple of instances where guys start to panic, they take in too much water, and instead of calming themselves down and addressing the issue, they panic and they'll claw you, scratch you, and they're not purposely attacking you.
Right.
They're just reacting instead of making accurate decisions. They're just
Right.
reacting and you just get caught by it. But when you have a guy, when you're already tired and cold and trying to tread water and hold a brick yourself,
Right.
and somebody else that's supposed to be your teammate is pushing you underwater, it doesn't build trust.
Wow. Sorry. I'm still wrapping my head around what you just said, and that's a lot. Like it's kind of interesting to see, like, from your point of view that even though we're all working to a very common goal, or at least similar, if not common, goal, but I'm putting my needs ahead of your needs, and your needs are ahead of my needs. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Those are
So,
people you don't want to go down range with.
yeah. So, how does the role of leadership, how does that play when there's no room for like, hesitation or ego, or I am going back to what I said earlier, the king, quote unquote king of the hill or queen of the hill.
So, yeah, there's a lot of civilians that would correlate, or sorry, I should say there's a lot of people in a leadership position
Right.
that would think themselves to be king of the hill.
Right.
And that's wrong. And it probably correlates to some or leads to some toxic leadership behaviors, which is so disgusting and not necessary.
Mhm.
Um, so the leaders that actually don't view themselves like that,
Right.
a true good leader recognizes that the only reason you are currently a good leader is because of the people on your team. If they are mucked up, you're mucked up. If they are flawless, man, you're a great leader. You're
Right.
doing everything right. Right. Like that's just one caveat to it. And so anybody that thinks themselves like, I work with people in the corporate world that do that. They're like, oh, I'm so and so. And I'm like, cool story. Great. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what your name is. I'll address you appropriately.
Yeah.
I care about your experience or lack of experience and
Right.
how you make decisions because your decisions affect the rest of the team that may not be as smart as you and they will blindly follow you.
Right.
And that's not good leadership.
Right. So, on a similar note, how would you determine who's a good leader, not and who's not a good leader, by the actions they make? Because obviously, some good leaders will make bad decisions, and sometimes a bad leader will make good decisions. But usually, it's the other way around.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's excellent that you recognize like, hey, we don't get every decision right.
Yeah.
Like we miss something. It it's law of statistical, it's going to happen. So you do everything you can to mitigate against that. But one of the things that I've determined on who makes a good leader type of person is one, their emotional intelligence
Right.
about themselves, how they carry and conduct themselves, how they speak to their teammates.
Mhm.
Do they just constantly direct you and tell you what to do and how to do it? Or do they just say, hey, I need this objective or this task completed by this deadline? Go make it happen. And then you do your job and you use your resources and your thought process and you develop a way to make that happen. And so, obviously, the key terms micromanagers,
Yeah.
that's why they're called managers. They're not micro leaders because they're not leading anything. That's partly an insecurity and lack of knowledge experience issue.
Yeah.
So a good leader is basically, one of my definitions of it is that the people above my leadership,
Right.
whatever problems you guys are talking about, you keep me insulated from that.
Yeah.
Let me deal with me and my team.
Mhm.
I'll take care of that. And whatever happens below me, I'm going to take care of it, preferably before it ever gets to me and train your team that way.
Right.
But if it gets to me, I'm going to insulate you from that. We don't need to share every little thing with one another. So the leadership is also part of protecting its own people.
Right. So, on a parallel note, how would you, lack of better verbiage, filter out the information that is not needed for people below you versus the information that is needed?
Tomorrow, I'm going to have a birthday party with my kid.
Okay. Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
right? You're like, the hell am I supposed to do with that? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Was that useful information for you?
Not exactly, to be honest.
Perfect. So that's what I have to judge. The
Right.
information I'm about to give to you, is it useful? Is it valuable to you? If it's not, don't bother my time and your time by
Right.
telling you that. That's another, oh my God, I can't tell you how many emails I get that I'm CC'd on for your awareness.
Yeah.
Like, hey, first of all, it's cool to know that, but I got my own swim lane over here and you're taking my time up. Oh, but I just want you to be aware. Yeah, I do not need to be aware of that. If you do your job, you'll give me this product. That's what I need. If you have 1,000 issues, I don't care. If you're
Yeah.
not going to meet the delivery, I care.
Mm.
If you need my assistance, I care.
Right.
But don't just tell me random stuff, right? So that's how I process is it. Do you need to know about me having a kid's birthday party this weekend? Is it useful for you? Nope. Then I
Nope.
don't tell you.
Okay.
Unless you ask me about, hey, what you going to get up to this weekend? And then you're asking me what would be useful because maybe you're going to go, man, if he doesn't have much going on, I'm going to invite him to come train with us and maybe catch up for a coffee. And
Right.
if I go, oh, yeah, I got a busy weekend, blah, 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 you'll hold that in reserve and go, oh, man, all right, well, I hope you have a great weekend. But one weekend when you're free, let's catch up for a coffee. Cool, no worries.
Okay.
As opposed to just saying, hey, you want to have coffee this weekend? And I say, no, I can't. Because you heard, no, I can't. And then the negativity in the human being, well, does he not like me? Is he really telling me the truth or this or that?
Yeah.
Right. And so to avoid all that, I don't tell people things unless they need to know them. Unless we're on a podcast talking, of course, but
Right.
at work, unless you need to know it, I'm not gonna really tell you. And that's the filter that I use.
Okay. That that makes sense, a lot of sense because unfortunately for me, I run my own company, which is Nishna Entertainment, which is housing this YouTube channel as well as my other two ones. And it's really, and I always get emails like FYI, blah 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 blah. I'm just like, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, what the hell you want me to do with this?
Yeah. So in order to alleviate that, we set up run rules.
Yeah,
An example is military brevity
right,
on radio calls. Like, so there's this one form called the nine line form, and it's basically a situation report that
right,
if I request a nine line from you, you pull up the form, there's nine sentences with
right,
some information that is asking for. That's the information I'm wanting. Like, imagine if somebody you call me to disarm a bomb, and you start telling me this information. I'm like, stop, stop. I'm going to ask you the questions and I want you to answer my question. I don't want you filling in gaps or your biases or what you think you saw or did. I want facts. And so I'll deliberately ask you very specific questions. And then on the radio in a firefight, mate, I don't have a lot of time to have a conversation. My hands need to be doing other things. So we have to use very short, clear, concise vocabulary that we both understand. And so for in your business, like as an example, whoever, consistently keeps sending you for your information,
right,
especially if it's an employee, you talk with them and go, hey, listen, as an example, you are allowed to spend $500 on the corporate card for these materials without asking for my permission.
right.
Number two, anything related to this podcast, I want to be notified. Anything other podcasts, go ahead and make whatever schedule updates you want that's available on my calendar. Don't bother me for those. And you set guidelines, which you can update at all times when situations change. And
Right.
so now they have a set of run rules like, oh, should I share this information with him?
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So you set the expectation with someone because honestly, most people that are CCing you or saying, hey, for your information,
Yeah.
kind of makes them feel good. They think that they're sharing, to them, they're sharing information with you
Right.
and they think they're doing you a favor, like hooking you up. And in reality, they're bogging down your mental bandwidth. And every time you focus on that, takes you away from the things you should be focused on. So
Right.
you just got to have the clear communication with them. Like, if it involves this, send it my way. If it doesn't, you handle it. And here's the authority you have.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. To kind of shift gears towards more mindset and identity, after spending years in the high pressure environment you were in, how did that change the way you think and about risk in everyday life now that you're no longer part of the military?
Oh, risk. Man, this is where I continue to do some things that my mother shakes her head at. She's like, "You're not getting paid to do those things anymore." I'm
Right.
like, "Well, I didn't do them to get paid in the first place." Um, I I really look at almost things daily from a risk posture matrix
Mhm.
of what's the risk. I went up on my roof earlier today to adjust something that was up there, and falling off roofs and falling off ladders is uh, when I looked into the disaster preparedness program that we made,
Yeah.
man, falling off ladders and roofs is actually one of the highest ranking home injuries around.
Yeah.
And so here I am. I just moved into this house. I haven't unpacked everything. I don't have my ladder out. So I'm that guy that's, trying to scramble up with not the proper tools of which I knew I should have had and get up on the roof. And so before I ran up there, I was like, whoa, slow down, slow down. Like let's just think this through. Can I successfully use that? Don't stand on a revolving chair because it has wheels on it, right? Like,
Right.
so I actually slow down and look at my own self and go, hey, what's the danger here?
Yeah.
Well, I can fall climbing up, I can fall climbing down, I can fall through the roof, I can fall off the roof. Well, how do I mitigate that? Okay, don't do it last night when you had a glass of wine. Okay, wait till tomorrow when the sun's up, it's not raining, the roof is dry, and get a better step ladder to safely get up on the roof, or as safer than the other way that I was going to do it, right? And so you just you start looking at risk mitigation
Mhm.
after the military in a different light. You also see this some rules in corporate world
Right.
are unnecessary. They don't protect you against risk. They don't protect you against, they don't facilitate mission success. They
Right.
become more about compliance and regulations. And that flusters a lot of veterans. So you have to reframe the way you're looking at those rules because in the military, almost every rule, at least when I was in, the rules were written in blood. They were there to keep you safe.
Yeah. Going back to what you just said about a lot of veterans not liking the rules in the corporate world, could you expand on that, please?
Yeah, so almost every rule in the military was originally written because somebody had been injured.
Yeah.
And to prevent that, you write a rule. Hey, don't take this fuse out that way. Don't handle a firearm this way. And it meant something like, oh, it adds value to my safety. And when you get into the corporate world and they have these policies or rules that a trained, skilled veteran looks at and goes, what value does that add? Oh, it's for legal compliance, of which you're not in the legal department. And you're like, my man, I just need to take this document and give it to this person so that they can see this. Well, no, it's got to get reviewed by legal. You can't use that. And it's not
Right.
classified. We don't use that terminology. You need to write it like this. And you're like, then here you go. You just write it because this is what they want. This is what they asked for. But there's all these additional steps that might be very well necessary to stay within compliance and regulations. That could probably be more educated to veterans coming in
Right.
and then help veterans reframe on how they view those rules.
Okay. That makes sense. Actually really makes sense to me. With that being said, what's something you had to unlearn, I guess you can say, when you're transitioning out of the military into more of a civilian role?
You know, in the military, particularly the conventional military, you get promoted or increased in rank
Right.
generally based off time in service. There
Right.
are some exams, and the higher you go, there's more evaluations conducted on you as an individual.
Right.
But initially, just stay out of trouble, stay in long enough, and you'll make the next rank.
Yeah.
And then when those people become leaderships or managers, they're not there or selected to be there because of their moral ethics or their emotional stability. They're there because they made the rank.
Right. That makes
And you
sense.
get some really bad leadership, particularly toxic leadership. And then when
Yeah.
you come out into the civilian world, you think that, oh, this person that has this high title, man, they must be switched on. And it was disheartening to realize it exists just like it did in the military.
Right.
You know, there's people in high level positions that when you have a conversation with them, you're like, are you yelling at me right now? Like, what kind of profession are you? Like, what do you not understand what I just technically said to you? And they're like, no. How did you get in this position? Like, you're not technically qualified for it. Well, it's still a good old boy system. It's a
Yeah.
network of who you know. And that happens in a lot of positions. I heard one individual tell a guy this guy was extremely intelligent in his career field and he just wasn't getting promoted,
Right.
but he was extremely capable. And I remember a really good mentor pulled him aside and said, hey, look, I'm going to transfer you over closer to what we call the flagpole. The flagpole is where the headquarters, like in the military, if you go, hey, flagpole, that's the headquarters compound.
Oh, okay.
So our team room, it'd be like in college. That's where the dean and the offices are.
Okay.
But all the outer buildings is where we can kind of chill out and relax. But if we go to headquarters, the flagpole, you better have your uniform squared away. You better be yes sir, no sir sort of thing. So he actually moved him to the flagpole for our company. And he told him, he's like, you're not there to solve problems. He's like, that's not your job. Your job is to network. Your job is to get in front of these people so they can hear you speak, see
Right.
your face, and start to build a rapport with you. So that when it comes time to select 10 promotions out of 100 and they're looking at 100 names, but they recognize your name, oh, I remember this guy. We
Yeah.
were talking about golf or we were talking about judo. I
Right.
like that guy. Is he qualified? Oh, yeah. Of course he's qualified. Bam. He's the guy that gets promoted.
Right. That makes sense. Uh, cool. That's
Whether we like it or not, it's the
right.
way it works. And it's something that Andy and Jihi at Everyday Spy
Yeah.
eloquently can teach that. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Actually, talking about Andrew, I actually got his read his book, or not read, but listen to his book, Shadow Cell.
Mhm.
And by the way, good book, great book. Andrew, if you're watching this, I will wholeheartedly take your money. If you want sponsorships, let me know. Um, but in his book, he writes it, him and G, he write about their experience about finding or their work in Falcon and Falcon House, which for us normal people, we don't need to know who or what that place or that is. But like in a more of a high pressure situation where I don't, bullets are flying around above your head, you're in this almost like this very high pressure cooker situation. What's your mindset in that kind of situation where you want to defuse the bomb, but you're at the same time, if you jump up and down, you're gonna get an extra hole in your head.
So if I'm actively what we'd say downrange on a device,
Yeah,
like particularly doing CQB, there's something blocking a doorway, but there's gunfights going on in various rooms and flashbangs being dropped everywhere.
yeah,
I've got to do my job. Like my first job is a shooter, right?
okay,
So we would prefer to clear and secure an area and
yeah,
then allow the EOD to go process that item. You can't always do that.
right,
And so if there's chaos going on around me, I'm initially involved in the chaos myself
mhm,
until the team has it under control where I can pull my gun down and now I can process this. And it comes back to trust. The
right,
team's going to trust me. I remember this one time, this tall fella, Green Beret, was standing pretty much next to me because he couldn't get further around the corner
right,
for just the way the building was structured.
yeah,
And I'm looking at something, and I remember him just in a jokingly way, like in the midst of this chaos, he looked down at me and he was like, hey, he goes, you sure you want to do that? Just because he wanted to muck with me, like, hey, and it's in a chaotic environment. But at the time, you're just looking at him like, yeah, man, you do your job, I'll do mine. He's like, all right, I'll get you a beer later. That's a conversation we have real time on a venue in a chaotic moment.
right,
And it's because it's a little bit how we kind of decompress the situation.
mm,
Um, but it comes back to that trust of like, hey man, I trust you to do your job and protect me while my
right,
gun is down, and I'm going to protect us by seeing if this is a device and then telling you what we're going to do. Leave the area or we'll take another procedure and I'll let you know. So
okay,
trust.
nice. Going back to a word that you mentioned earlier, what does CQB mean?
CQB stands for close quarters battle.
Okay,
It's essentially like if you look back at World War One and World War Two,
right,
Vietnam, all those videos, people are out most of the time outside,
right,
right, in combat. You ever see the videos where World War Two, where they'll go into a city and cross a field, which is outside, and they go into the village and they start going into the buildings?
yeah,
That becomes what we eventually coined as CQB, close quarters battles. And
nice,
so you have certain military special operation teams that have all a blanket. starting point together, and then the teams will branch off. You'll have a team that focuses on diving missions. Like that is their 7 days a week, they're focused on diving. They can still parachute, they can still rappel, but that's their mission area. And then you'll have another team that their mission area is CQB. Holistically, it's counterterror, coined under counterterrorism,
Right.
but it's moving and clearing through structures, whether it's trains, boats, cars, buildings, any of those type of where you're close engagement in structures or in cave type of structures, and you're in very close proximity with the enemy.
Okay. I've heard something called close quarters combat. Is that similar or same?
Same, same,
Same?
same.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends on the organization or the doctrine, whether, I think CQB was the original term. I could be wrong on that. And then throughout the global war on terror, there was CQC that came out.
Okay. So obviously during thus far in your career in this conversation, you have had a lot of different experiences and all that stuff. With that being said, do you think the types of experiences you have had thus far changes your personality permanently, or is it more of a situational adaptation?
I think your personality, your deep down personality
Right,
is pretty much set for life.
right,
You'll learn through some of our courses talking about personality types and temperament types.
right,
There's always the extreme on left and right. You may be a little bit on this side of a particular temperament or a personality trait. And
right,
then there might be a scenario where that slides a little bit given the unique environment of it. But people are pretty much who they are for the rest of their life. Now, with that said, people say they can change their lives. Absolutely, you can, 100%. One of my best mates, former druggie, gangbanger, not a good human being.
right,
And now he's a wonderful husband, wonderful father, like great community, a coach. Like he's turned his life around. And I look at him and go, it's always been you. You were always that guy. And this is where people really struggle with, like they think they can't change. Well, probably deep down, if you're looking to do a change, it's probably already who you are.
right.
Your external life environment and lack of proper leadership guidance, mothers, parents, aunts, uncles,
Yeah,
showed you a pathway that was similar to theirs. And by default, you followed that pathway, but always kind of fell off. Like, man, this isn't me, but I got power because I'm a gang member or whatever it is. You rationalize it to yourself. So until somebody really sits back and reflects on who they are,
mhm,
what their personality really is, like go to everydayspy.com and look for the spy quiz. It's a few questions. It's free. It'll tell you something about your personality and temperament and give you some additional resources. Most people should probably take that a few times in their life
right,
because it really, you might think like you're the best caregiver in the world and like you're selfless but you start taking these type of personality tests and you realize there's a pattern and you are off about yourself. It could be a gut check or it could be this amazing like, oh really, I am that way. Like I would like to say that I'm not a very emotional person,
yeah,
and if you look at pictures of me growing up not smiling, talk to my family members, they'll be like, oh, he hardly ever smiled. I just thought they thought I didn't have a lot of emotions. And I'm like, man, if you looked at my psychological profile, I'm a nutcase. Like I got a lot of emotions going on. I just manage them and display them different than what you're expecting to see.
right. Cool. Um, Kind of shifting gears a little bit again to more reflection. What part of the chapter that you of your life do you carry the most today?
Oh, in a sad way, I would like to say all the fun things I've done with my teammates around the world,
Right.
but the thing that I probably hold most dear is the death and chaos that I've seen. And I say that because it reminds me that my freaking life is amazing. Whether my knees hurt, my back hurts, whether I got bills to pay or it's raining and I wanted to be outside,
Right.
mate, I'm breathing. I got my kids. Life is good. I've seen what it's not, and I have nothing to complain about. Of course, I can find 1,000 things to complain about, but the reality, the humbleness, and that's why I try to carry those memories with me,
Mhm.
is that I remember a buddy of mine, Roland, was killed with Blackwater. I came back to the States to his funeral, and his sister, man, she was broken.
Yeah.
And I remember what she said. She said if she could just have one more hug,
Right.
right? And you go, wow, like I'm complaining, like they got my food wrong, like my steaks. Like that's a first world problem. Like, are
Yeah.
you kidding me? Like all she would do is give one more hug.
Yeah.
So I better, better toughen up. Like, dude, get on with life. Like your life is amazing. And I wish more people would take that approach without having to see the savagery of the humans.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you define discipline after living such a high accountability or structured lifestyle?
Ownership. Like in the military, obviously, they're going to tell you where to stand, what to do.
Yeah.
You get out of that structure, and if it's not control, some people, they do great with the free flowing life.
Right.
My personality and my brain,
Mhm.
I will get anxious and depressed if I don't have structure in my life.
Yeah.
So for me, it's for the most part, unless I'm ill, is get up in the morning, splash cold water on your face, and start moving. As much as I would love to either stay in bed or sit on the porch and have a cup of coffee, I can do that in a couple hours.
Right.
Get up and get some stuff done. Like one of the things that we used to joke about at this agency I worked at was by 9 o'clock in the morning, we had done more than most people do the entire day.
Right.
And then the rest of your day is so easy. Like whatever task you got to do, easy. I've already been after for hours. And the rest of the world's not really awake, sending you FYI emails, taking up your attention. You get stuff done,
Yeah.
right? So, in order for me to keep my discipline, I've got to get up and get moving.
Right. And actually, funny enough, you actually answered one of the questions that I was going to ask later, but we'll come back to it later.
All
Um,
right.
uh, so what do you think people outside the military actually apply from your experience without Hollywoodizing it or glamorizing it?
Look at how we view situational awareness.
Yeah.
Like the simple thing about situational awareness.
Right.
Let's say we walk into a coffee shop.
Mhm.
Hollywood's going to show the individual, check where the exit is. How many exits are there? How many people are behind the counter? What are these
Right.
people wearing? Like, dude, calm down,
Yeah.
right? Walk into a coffee shop. The only reason I want to know where the exit is because if there's an emergency, a fire, a kid starts choking, and I need to run out to my truck and grab a medical bag, I want to know how to get out of the building. That shouldn't be essay. That should be common sense. Like look around and know where your exits are.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because something bad's going to happen. You may have to help someone.
Right.
Just know where the exits are, right? So don't focus on that one. When you walk into a cafe or any other environment, feel what the energy is. Like, go ahead and scan. Like, don't do it all jittery, but look around with intent and purpose. Like, what's the environment feel like? One of the programs that we run, it's some of your tasks. You have to go to a coffee shop at what is considered to be rush hour in the morning. And then you have to go to that same coffee shop on the same day at a different time. And you do a comparison of what we call baseline. So when you walk into a place, you're establishing a baseline. You're assessing the energy in the room. You're assessing the clothes that people wear. Like, do the clothing fit where they are? Are you in a financial district? Are you in a village district?
Right.
Does everything make sense? And people say, well, I've never been there before. You start collecting information the moment you walk in the door, right?
Mhm.
There's things you can do beforehand too, but just use this example. So I'm in there for 30 seconds. That 30 seconds is my baseline. I'm in there for 5 minutes. I have a 5 minute baseline. I go there 5 times a week. My baseline gets more developed. And then pattern recognition. It's about knowing or noticing the off nominal condition
Right.
from a baseline, right? So there's a thing you can find it everywhere talking about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan about roadside bombings.
Right.
And one of the key indicators is if this particular intersection that has a market on it is always busy. Every morning that market's busy. And you come in there one Sunday morning and it's quiet. That's off nominal.
Yeah.
That breaks the pattern of recognition, or there's pattern recognition to identify that.
Yeah.
And it would turn out because there was somebody came in and buried a roadside bomb, and the locals were like, "Oh, we're out of here." Right.
Oh,
So a telltale sign, and there's plenty of documents that discuss that type of behavior. And that's really what it SA is establishing a baseline
right.
and then recognizing the pattern differences.
Okay. Cool. Um, Obviously you have had a long and very experienced career. What's a belief or beliefs that you held at the start of your career that you no longer agree with?
Oh man, when I joined the military, 18 years old, I believed, the government they're there for the people. Like everyone, like the government holistically is there for the people.
Yeah.
And of course that could be because I was 18 years old and an idiot as well, right?
As
So I
is
would
most
say,
of us.
decades later, I realized that they're not necessarily making decisions at all times for
Right.
the interest of myself. It may be for the interest of the greater good, but I'm nobody to them in reality, right? Number wise, if they've got, 7 billion people, okay, I'm a number. That's all I am. I'm a cog in a wheel. Like, does my vote really matter? Maybe that's a discussion to have. It's the reality that you're only important to the people that love you,
Yeah. That,
your
that makes
friends, your teammates, your family,
right.
everything else, all the hours you pour into a corporation or into a job, you're never going to get that back. So be
Right.
very diligent on how you spend your time.
Right. So kind of moving forward a little bit, what advice would you tell someone who's entering either like the EOD path that you took or a high pressure profession at, and on May 8th of 26?
Do things that are outside of your comfort zone and start now
Okay.
because all of your training, it's going to be outside your comfort zone because you've never done it before. And it's designed for partly for that reason. So I'd love to say stop making excuses. Like if you're already on a path for there, you're not making excuses. You're moving forward. Take any and all opportunities to do things that make you uncomfortable.
Right. On a
Because
similar note, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say because it it's that uncomfortableness that's the
Right.
pressure test. It's whether or not you continue to follow the same moral ethics frameworks that you do when it's calm.
Right.
Keep doing those things when it's uncomfortable and unknown.
Mm. That makes sense. On a similar wavelength, I guess you can say, is it ever too late?
Too late for what?
Meaning if like obviously we both train in various martial arts between the two of us. Is it too late? I actually had a friend who's in his 60s, 50 late 50s, 60s. Like I think it's too late for me to join martial arts to
Oh, okay.
yeah. I don't know.
No, no. Like there's certain things, job requirements that might say you have to be this age and lower.
Yeah.
Well, hey, mate, you missed the cutoff date. Like, it's
Right.
nothing on you. You should have looked earlier, like, or you just had the idea and it's too late,
Right.
or the store closed and you didn't make it there in time, right? Those are
Right.
variables. But for the individual, it's never too late.
Right.
Like the only way to find out for that individual is, can I do judo or jujitsu?
Right.
Sure. Like, let's go. There's plenty of people that are doing it. Now, be smart about it. You're going to have to research a number of gyms, go into a number of gyms because, excuse me, the first one that you go into might have a 19-year-old black belt instructor that's a savage moron. Like,
Agree.
just is going to rip your arm off.
Yeah.
Probably want to find an older, seasoned instructor that's been around for a minute that can look at you and go, oh, you're
Yeah.
60, you're a little fragile. We need to strengthen your bones and your body. And you only get to train with these three people.
Yeah.
Why? Because they will respect your level and they're actually going to protect yourself from some stuff while you're rolling.
Right.
Right. And so you have to set these guidelines, these run rules again.
Mhm.
And a person that's getting into it has no idea. So you're counting on the professional to do that for you. But unfortunately, most people, they don't conduct themselves like that. So it's incumbent upon that individual to ask a lot of questions, to go and get experience, go to different gyms in this case, and observe how the courses or how that session is taught, how
Right.
the instructor is. Have a conversation for 10 minutes with that instructor. Tell them your concerns. Tell them what your objectives are. I had training for 5 years with this one older guy,
Right.
fragile and very. Oh man, that guy didn't want people 4 feet in front of him. He would get panicked and claustrophobic. And so there was only a couple of us in the gym that
Right.
he would train with. And he was a little bit spastic. Like if you just kind of gave him your arm a little bit, like fed it to him,
Right.
he would try to rip it off. He was so amped up, he didn't recognize, like, just make your grip, lean back, do your thing. And so there was only a couple of us that would actually roll with him to keep ourselves protected and to help protect him. And I couldn't get to side control on him because he would be panicking.
Right.
Okay, I found your threshold. Let me back out, respect it, keep training with you and keep talking to you during the training. And now this older man, what a savage to roll with. Like,
Yeah.
you want to talk about pressure and getting tight together? Like,
Right.
he's slowly over time 1% better every day, one step forward every single day. If he looked from 5 years ago to now, he'd be like, I'm never doing that. So don't look that far ahead.
Right.
Bite-sized, manageable chunks that are achievable on a daily basis. Like, it just had a guy tell me about writing a book. He was like, 365 pages, don't write it. Write one page. Tomorrow, write a second page. One page a day, a year later, you're done. But if you look at it the linear, you'll be like, oh, that's too much. Anxiety starts kicking in. So don't do that. Bite-sized chunks.
So it's kind of like that saying where a journey of 1,000 miles is it starts with one step or something like that. I forgot the exact verbiage.
It starts with one step and it's comprised of thousands of
Yeah.
one steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think people consistently underestimate about themselves?
Their ability, like in a broad sense,
Right.
their ability,
Hmm.
right? To do things. Well, they have to go define what that thing is that they want to do and then go do it.
Right.
Another term you could use would be insecurity or confidence. They lack confidence. They may display confidence on social media or walking around town, but I know a ton of veterans that are broken inside. They put on a good face. I've been there, but
Right.
inside you're broken. And more people just need to have confidence in themselves. And we talked about it earlier. How do you get that confidence?
Right.
Go do the training, know your limitations, push those boundaries, push those limitations 1% every day.
Right.
It,
So
it,
looking so looking back on your career now, What was one thing that you had to grow that was a needed growth, but a very uncomfortable one?
Follow procedures. I, this was before I went into special operations. In the general military, you have this thing called PMS, preventative maintenance
Hmm.
schedule. And there was a magazine locker that holds smoke floats for the ocean. It's a big canister. You throw it in the water, salt water activated, smoke comes out. They're stored on the outside of the ship because
Right,
they're activated by salt water.
right,
The magazines inside the ship, the fire suppression is salt water. So you want to keep them outside in a container that from a distance you can pull a lever and they
right.
will fall over to the side if they catch on fire on the boat. I was doing that maintenance. Like I was supposed to empty it, I was supposed to strap it down properly, and then I was supposed to activate the lever. But if
Yeah,
I did all the procedures, it wouldn't fall over the side. And it was on a weekend. Everybody else, all my friends are already out on the motorcycles in Japan, and I just want to get off work and go catch up to them. And
right.
so I'm reading this checklist of do one, do two, and I'm like, I can skip that. I can skip this. Like 19 years old, 20
Yeah,
years old, maybe like still an idiot. And I strapped it down. But what I didn't do was I didn't take the contents out. It would have taken me like 10 trips,
right.
like multiple stories down inside the ship, and then when I was done, go put them back. So I skipped that step. Like I'm not going to drop it over the side. I don't need to take them out. And so I do the maintenance. We had some people down on the water on a platform that were painting the side of our ship. Part
Right.
of my crew on that vessel. I could hear them down there, radio playing and talking. I'm doing all of my work. I'm almost ready to push the safety mechanism that holds it back inside around orifice, and it's not lining up. The strap had stretched and the two holes, they weren't aligned. They were kind of off center. And I'm like, oh man. So I walked down there to fix it. As I did, the strap came loose and I'm holding on to this heavy container and the
Right.
handrail, and I'm just kind of stretched out like in a cross. Nobody's around. I'm on the far side of the pier. Nobody's there. It's a weekend. It's quiet.
Yeah.
And I can't let go of this thing. I can hear them below me, like moving the little floating dock along the side of the ship. If I let this go, it's probably going to land on them and kill them.
Right.
Never mind what's going to happen to me. I'm about to kill some of my friends because
Yeah.
I'm an idiot and didn't follow procedures. I'll say I followed the procedures of strapping it down. The
Yeah.
strap came loose, but I still didn't take everything out that I should have. Either way, that container is going to kill them,
Hmm.
and I'm holding on to it. And I remember just like, don't let go. Like, I ended up ripping a tendon in my finger from holding on to it for so long. I don't know what they were doing down there, but they weren't being efficiently fast, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They eventually moved forward towards the bow and got out of the way. And I had just come to a commitment like, well, I'm going to be in trouble because I'm going to release this thing and let it splash. And then I got to go to the boss and say, I made a mistake, like
I done
bad,
fucked
like
up.
yeah, exactly. And fortunately for if a prayer's ever been answered, a guy that's supposed to, if you're going to smoke you're supposed to go to the pier,
Yeah.
was sneaking out on the back side of the ship and was lighting a cigarette as he walked out and saw me, was like, oh, I'm like, no, you can keep smoking. Just do me a favor and go push that lever for me. So he had to crawl under my arm. I was like, don't touch me. Just crawl under there and
Yeah.
go put that safety pin in for me. And he did it. And I was like, oh, thank God. And so right after that, I was like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, don't do that again. Go drink a beer, ride your motorcycle, keep being an idiot. It
Right.
wasn't until years later I reflected on that moment and went, oh, attention to detail. This is what my dive school is telling me right now. Attention to detail, procedures, trusted, proven procedures. That's what that PMS card was. Some team worked out all the steps that
Right.
needed to be done for a reason. And my dumb 20-year-old was like, you don't need to do that one. So that was a life lesson that fortunately no one got hurt. And once I realized the severity of it, I'm able to apply that to everyday life now. Like, hey man, if you're gonna speed on the interstate, you're violating the law. Okay.
Yeah.
Is the risk worth it? Well, if my kid's massively bleeding from her head, I'm going to say the risk is worth getting her to the hospital.
Right.
If she's whinging because she needs to go to the bathroom, cool kid. I know it's uncomfortable. I'll find the first pull off. You go in a bush. I'm not going to speed up to race home because my kids are screaming and need to get to the bathroom. Like that would be a wrong reason to start speeding, right? So you start to understand risk management when you can and should not break rules.
Right. So you basically all in all, you have to ask yourself, is the juice worth the squeeze?
Define juice, define squeeze, and then ask yourself that exact question.
Okay. Cool.
Right. So I'll say it another way. I learned this in combat from a teammate, but it applies to everyday life.
Mhm.
He taught me when you're in any situation, ask yourself, what's my current situation and how do I make it better? So in combat, if I'm getting shot at, well, I'm getting shot at. I can either move to where I'm not getting shot at, or I can eliminate them so I'm not getting shot at. So what's my situation? How do I make it better? In everyday life, the same thing. Like, what's my situation? I'm tired. Maybe I should look at my nutrition, my health, my sleep schedule. I'm not happy at work. How do I make it better?
Right.
Learn to enjoy that job, learn to add value to that job, or find a new position that would bring you value. Don't jump ship because grass is greener.
Right.
Really learn about yourself.
That makes sense. Without all that being said, you mind if we do a quick lightning round?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Question one. First thing you do when you wake up.
My feet hit the floor and I've got to traverse across the room to shut my alarm off.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's your favorite off-duty activity or hobby?
Oh. Um, Enduro riding?
What's
Yeah.
what's one skill you wish everyone knew?
Common sense.
Unfortunately, that's a reality for all of us. Um, Most memorable piece of advice you ever received.
Walk softly and carry a big stick.
Most valuable advice you've ever given someone else.
Don't do that.
What was the last thing you Googled?
Ooh, I know this one. Um, the property that I'm on right now,
Right.
it's a 9 acre property, and we've been looking at buying land around here. And I was trying to get a visual estimate, and we were walking the property last night at sunset, and I was measuring the distance, going, you know what? This side of the property is the longest side. I was like, I like that distance. Anything closer and a neighbor closer than that, I don't think I'm gonna like it. And I've lived in townhomes, apartment complexes, Abu Dhabi, Las Vegas. I've lived in complex cities with neighbors 6 feet apart. And now that I'm out here in the countryside, I'm like, I'm never going back.
Right.
Like for a visit, yes, but I want to be able to walk out in my own property and just go for a walk on my property. So yeah, I Googled the local county records to see where the lines were at and what the distances were.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing what you do, what would you be doing?
MotoGP driver.
What the heck is that?
MotoGP, motorcycle racing.
Oh,
It's the motorcycle equivalency of Formula One racing.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
What's your go-to calm down method when stress is at its peak?
Breathe.
Best
Look,
book? Sorry, go ahead.
caveat on everybody's like, yeah, I'm breathing right now.
Yeah.
There's multiple techniques. You can do a 4 in, hold for 7, 8 out your mouth. You can
Mm.
do box breathing, generally as a 4-4-4. 4 in, hold it for 4, 4 out, hold it for 4, and
Yeah.
keep repeating that rhythm. Everybody can Google the science behind it, but it essentially lowers your heart rate, right?
Right.
I need to lower my heart rate so that my blood keeps going to my brain so that I can have cognitive function.
Right. That makes sense. What's one thing people get wrong about the military world?
That it's not all war. there's a very small portion of our percentage of our military that actually sees combat operations.
Right,
There's so many other jobs that are very needed and valuable in the military
right.
that, if you're going to join the military and and your parents are giving you some trouble about it, like, oh, it's so dangerous, mate, so's driving on the interstate,
Yeah,
right? So let's reevaluate the role that you want to do in the military. If you want to go to special operations, yeah, you're probably going to get in some precarious situations.
yeah,
Higher probability than somebody that has a different career field in the military,
right.
but all the jobs are important.
Cool. Best book or podcast recommendation you've given someone in high pressure roles.
Um, the book, Thinking Fast, How to Think Fast, Thinking Fast and Slow,
Okay.
and I'm messing that title up. The reason it's really interesting is the author of it recently committed assisted suicide
Oh, interesting.
in EU at an older age. It was something that he had mapped out, didn't share with the community, but he had authored a couple of really good books, and
Right.
then yeah, had a very unique, interesting way about his death.
Interesting. If you could relive any moment of your career, what would it be and why?
Hmm. I'd almost say all of it, just to go through the ride again. It
Right.
makes you who you are today. Um, Obviously, seeing the birth of my children, I've been blessed that I was able to be present for that. It's uh, it's one of those things that it happens every day, like multiple times a day around the world. Children being born, like what's so cool about it? Um, but to slow down and really understand and appreciate what happened. Two human beings just populated this little seed that grows in another human being. That body, oh my God, bless you women. Like if you tried to make my body go through that, I
Yeah.
don't have time for that. Like that is phenomenal. And then to see this thing delivered and become life and
Right.
then watch them grow, that's got to be one of the coolest experiences ever.
Right. In one sentence, what does leadership mean to you?
Accountability, trust, and ownership.
Favorite quote or mantra you live by?
Back to walk softly and carry a big stick.
If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Oh, man. I used to say like I used to think like Abraham Lincoln or George Washington would be pretty
Yeah.
cool, but now I think I want to pick like an astronaut and ask him, "Did you really step on the moon?" I
Yeah.
don't know if he would tell me. Like I don't know if I could trust him either way, but that'd be a cool conversation.
One piece of gear or equipment you cannot live without.
Oh, a knife.
What's the most normal thing you do that makes people laugh?
uh, Over analyze things still,
Mhm.
um, and try to explain everything. Like my wife and her husband, they chuckle. They're like, "There's a reason you're a good instructor, is because they'll ask me." Like my oldest daughter, she knows when she calls me, she either has to tell me, "Dad, keep your mouth quiet and just listen," or "Dad, I need your help." And so I want to educate and solve all these problems. So when somebody comes at me and says, "Oh, this thing's broken," I overanalyze it. I break it down. I start talking for hours, and they're like, "Dude, all I need you to do is fix it. Don't tell me why it broke, how it doesn't, like just fix it for me." So that's something I gotta work on.
Yeah. So that ends the lightning round. With all this conversation said, what advice would you give someone who wants to go into the EOD route, or regardless if it's Navy or Army or Marines or Air Force, what advice would you give this person?
Reading. I mean, the fitness side of it, if you're gonna go to the Navy, you better start getting in shape. Like dive school's no joke. And you got to do the 3 month dive phase before you ever get to bomb school. It's a criteria for the Navy. If you're not going to go the Navy route, then just general PT, you'll be fine. Read, read as much as you can. Get used to reading, get your eyesight used to reading because you are going to study a world of munitions. Like there's so much reading and studying from the dive medicine, physics to ordnance publications. Get used to reading, get comfortable with it.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on this podcast. Just a couple more questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Number one, where can people find you? Of
You can reach out through everydayspy.com and then I will actually shoot you an Instagram account that you can post with a video.
course. And before we part ways on this beautiful Friday here, at least here in California, do you have any parting words?
Take the next 7 days to find three things every day
Mhm.
to verbally say or write down that you're appreciative of. If I ask you to go write all the negative thoughts in your head, you'd give me a notebook full, right? Just take the time to look around you, recognize three things that you are thankful for.
Right. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for being on this podcast with me. I really appreciate the conversation. As always, to the audience, we'll have Trevor's email and Instagram and everything else, social media in the description box down below. If Please give this a like, comment, subscribe, share with friends and family, talk about it, have a discussion in the comments. But as always, have a good one. See you in the next episode. Peace.